AITA for controlling what my kids wear. I am a dad to 3 kids, 15 female, 10 female, and 8 male. I love them more than anything and want to resolve this problem ASAP, as I hate fighting with them. I like to think that my wife and I have been good parents thus far. We are not extremely strict or helicopter parents. We do not limit screen time for my daughters. They all get a weekly allowance and are asked to do very minimal chores, cleaning their shared bathroom, washing their dishes, etc. The kids have had no issues with the way our household runs until now. Since my eldest was born, my wife and I have enforced a no pajama policy around the house. We consider it the same as taking off your shoes when you come inside. Pajamas are worn for sleeping in their bedrooms at night. They aren't allowed to wear them down into shared spaces, living room, kitchen, etc., or during times of the day when they're up and active, essentially anytime they aren't sleeping. This is to keep everyone from feeling lazy or like they have nothing to do, and also keeps everyone looking presentable and clean. We have been enforcing this rule a bit more ever since they switched to online school, as we don't want them falling asleep or becoming distracted during, in between class. The only exception is pajama night once a week, where we all wear pajamas and play board games or watch a movie together. My wife and I follow the same rule for the sake of fairness. A few days ago, my eldest came down for breakfast in her pajamas. I asked her to go back upstairs and change before joining us, and told her we would wait for her before we started eating. She refused, so I told her that she could either change out of her pajamas or go back to bed, as pajamas are for sleeping only. It ended in an argument between her, my wife, and I. She said the rule is unfair and ridiculous, and that we aren't allowed to control what she wears. She also claimed that she was uncomfortable in everything else because it was all too formal for breakfast. I told her I don't care what she changes into, so long as they aren't pajamas. She could wear sweatpants if she'd like, but the expectation we set in our house is that pajamas are for sleeping only. I also pointed out that we don't control what she wears out of the house, no pajamas, obviously, and within reason as they are still young. She stormed off to her room and won't speak to me or my wife. I am wondering if we are the idiot in this situation, as we are, to some degree, policing what our children wear around the house. But I also feel that it isn't a huge demand to make, especially since my wife and I also follow it, and generally don't ask much else of the kids. Edit. The rule does not apply when the kids go to their friends' houses, and we are more relaxed about it when they bring friends over to our house, though the rule isn't dropped completely. Edit 2. Yes, holidays are also an exception, including birthdays and days where one of the kids has something special to celebrate, an award, a good grade, etc. Thank you to the user who asked, reminded me. Also, I consider pajamas to be whatever you slept in. The kids are expected to change out of whatever they slept in. But if that means changing into lounge, leisure wear, or even a clean pair of pajamas, that's fine. Update. My daughter and I got back from the doctor a few hours ago, so I thought I'd update everyone, as my last post got a pretty large response. I'm a good dad, that's something I'm sure of. I love my kids, I try very hard to be a good parent, and I know I've done that. A few people commented on my post saying I was ruining my kids' lives, etc., which is not true in the slightest. That being said, I was somewhat wrong about the pajamas. As some people mentioned, changing out of pajamas acts as a reset for them and helps them acknowledge that they're starting their day. This is why my wife and I started the rule in the first place. But obviously things change over time. Shortly after getting my idiot title, I went to talk things out with my daughter, intending on figuring out a way to change the pajama policy so that we were all happy with it. I re-explained the reasoning behind the rule, shifting mindsets in the morning, and she ended up crying and told me that changing her mindset didn't matter because she can't stop falling asleep anyway. I asked her what she meant, and she explained that she's been falling asleep multiple times a day, even when she's changed out of her pajamas. My wife is close friends with a somnologist, so we set up an appointment and he spoke with my daughter. He recommended that she go for a polysomnography and MSLT sleep tests. And it turns out, she has narcolepsy. We're currently discussing treatment options with her doctors to see how we can help her, but it's a big relief for her to know that there's a reason behind why she's been struggling with sleep. As for the pajamas, we sat down as a family and discussed it together. We all decided we want to keep the rule, but reworked it so the kids can eat breakfast in their pajamas, as long as they're changed and starting online school on time. Also, a lot of people asked why my wife and I don't limit my kids' screen time. We limit my son's, as he's a bit younger, but my daughters are extremely good at limiting their own. They're both bookworms and understand that too much screen time is harmful, so they don't spend a lot of time on their devices anyway, so my wife and I have never felt the need to step in. You're the idiot. I'm glad everyone came to an agreement, but that rule is still ridiculous. I want to get on with your day, but sometimes people just want to lounge around all day and just have a lazy day, and there is nothing wrong with that. Not the idiot. I completely disagree. These are standards that need to be set while kids are young. Self-respecting adults do not lounge around all day in their pajamas. Maybe you do, and that says a lot about who you are. Good on the father for creating good habits in his children. Do you think this dad is asking too much? Let me know in the comments. Now, AITA for telling my daughter the truth about why I wasn't in her life. To start, my ex and I were 19 when she got pregnant. We had recently broken up and she found out a couple weeks later that she was pregnant. She said she planned to get an abortion but only wanted her sister there, so I was always under the belief that she had aborted. She only contacted me once saying it was done and we didn't speak again. Fast forward 19 years later, I found out a month ago that was a lie. My ex passed away 3 years ago and my daughter Kara has been living with her uncle. He was the one to reach out to give me a heads up after she expressed an interest in wanting us to connect. He and I spoke at length because I was feeling some pretty strong emotions like rage for never being told about her. My ex had backed out of the abortion but didn't want me involved because we were broken up, so decided just not to tell me. but he told me that Kara doesn't know about that. Apparently I wasn't ready for fatherhood because we were both young, so I bailed. I couldn't believe it. Rob, her uncle, told me he knows his sister was wrong for that but promised Kara doesn't have any negative feelings towards me, and my ex never painted me as some villain. Just a young guy who knew he couldn't properly care for her. He asked me not to tell Kara this when we talk if she asks, and because it could hurt the way she saw her mom. I never actually confirmed I would. Kara messaged me and we've been talking. I've met her twice and it's been crazy emotional. Looking at this girl who looks just like me and hurting that we're just barely getting to know each other so far. Our conversations have only been about what her life was like, how my life is, what her wants, future goals are, and getting to know each other. We met again Tuesday and she finally decided to ask the obvious questions about what made me not be involved. How did I feel? What went through my mind? Did I ever think about her? Etc. I had been thinking about what to do, but at that moment I just didn't have it in me to lie, so I was honest. That I was told about the abortion. Had no idea she even existed until now, but that I still really want to be in her life and have the chance to be her father if she wants that. Kara was a bit emotional. We talked some more and said she still wants me involved. That night my messages were blowing up. Not just from Rob but her grandparents as well. They're all outraged for telling Kara about her mom because she yelled at all of them and is refusing to even take their calls. Yes, the lie was terrible, but I just ruined the image she had of her late mother for my own benefit. Rob called me a selfish prick for not taking into consideration how this would affect Kara finding out about this. So right now I feel like poop. I get honesty is the best policy, but in this case I don't know if I was an idiot for doing it. I'm still learning this whole dad business, so don't know if I dropped the ball here. Update. I made this post a couple months back and I wanted to share what's been going on. This was a really big mess and thank you for all your reassurance, for telling me that Kara deserved to know the truth. There was still some guilt I carried with me for days until she called me again now that she had time to process. Kara thanked me for being honest about what happened and we had a deep conversation about what she's going through. She and her mom always had a very strained relationship even until she passed away, so there was still a lot of anger and resentment she never got to have closure for. Now learning this new lie her mom told her about me ... well, it opened a lot of other mixed feelings. She has been in therapy even before her mother died to deal with their issues, so Kara is working this out with someone, which I am happy to know. Many of you were suggesting therapy for her, so at least she already had that down. My daughter's still mad at her family. She talked to them a couple times before stopping communication. Kara knows she'll forgive them eventually, but for right now, she says she wants them to live with the consequences, so hasn't had any contact with them. I did express my concern over her shutting them out, but she says it's not forever. She's still trying to process this betrayal and get to a place where she'll accept them back into her life. At the moment she's still living with her friend and wants to keep things that way. So far I have declined any financial help I offer. She just wants to work out her anger and let them sit with this for a while. I had to do some blocking still for my own peace of mind. Things are a work in progress, but I'm happy to report that we're getting along fine. Kara's been over so many times and has met my fiance. We're learning so much about each other, even if sometimes it's hard not to get emotional over childhood memories. She talks about knowing I couldn't be there for them. Still in the process of finding a therapist myself because this has been pretty heavy on me too, and still have no idea what the hell I'm doing as a parent. Thanks for your words of encouragement and all the advice from fellow parents. I kept getting asked for an update on this, so sorry it took me a while to remember to post something. Not the idiot. Kara was owed the truth about what happened. Her mother's family is only upset that they got caught out in participating in a damaging, hurtful lie. They don't care about how Kara feels about her mother, but only that she knows they willingly lied to her. You are a good dad to build the relationship slowly and let it be based on honesty. If you had lied and Kara found out, she would have huge issues with trusting anyone again. Not the idiot. Thank you so much for the update. You did do the right thing by stopping the generational lies Kara was living with. Her mom and that family did betray her and you. Kara sounds like she is doing the right thing for now and working through all this, as are you. I wish you both much luck. It's good you found each other. Should he have told her the truth? Let me know in the comments. Nows, AITA for ruining my brother and his wife's pregnancy news with the news of my recent diagnosis. Bit of backstory. My brother and I are very close. His wife and I not so much. We've had our fair share of tension. Anyway, I feel sick in the middle of May, but held off getting checked out because of COVID and safety reasons. Eventually, when June started, I decided to go check it out. Turns out it was stage 2 breast cancer. I decided to tell my family 2 days ago since lockdown laws have been lifted. So I invited everyone over, and when I told my brother and his wife, he said okay, that's fine because he has news to share too. So our family gathered and my brother decided to go first. He did ask me, and he announced that his wife is 4 months pregnant. Of course, everyone was overjoyed. After about an hour they asked about my news, and I knew this was probably the last time in a long while before I had everyone here in person, so I told them. And of course the initial joyous atmosphere was gone. The rest of the evening was a lot of support for me and not a lot of attention on my brother and his wife. My brother didn't seem to mind this, as he was quite distraught with my news, but I saw his wife pretty upset and cordoned off. So I decided to approach her, and I apologized for the timing of it all. She told me I could have waited a bit and Skyped everyone with the news, as it's just stage 2, and let my brother and her have this moment with their family. I told her I initially called this meeting for this exact reason, and she said she knows, but I knew my news would damper everyone's mood. So I told her she's being ridiculous and I wanted to tell my family in person, since they are my family after all. and she burst into tears and demanded to go home, which my brother obliged even though he was confused. He promised he would come see me soon since he stays close by to me. Later that evening I get a message from him asking if I told his wife that she isn't part of the family and that I deliberately wanted the attention on me, because that's what she's upset about. Also the next day my parents called me to check up on me and my mom mentioned that my brother's wife called yesterday evening really upset telling them what I said and claiming I'm jealous because she's pregnant and I'm trying to ruin her life. I told my parents what actually happened and what I really said, and it caused not only tension between his wife and me, but my parents and her too, and now she's also blaming me for my parents not being her biggest fans. My brother is torn but has been trying to talk to her, which results in more tears and a strain in their marriage. All this drama is making me think that I should have just called up everyone rather, or just told my brother that his news had to wait, even though that would have been selfish of me. I really wanted my family's support that day, but I'm starting to rethink whether it was worth all this drama and potentially causing further problems. So Reddit, am I the idiot? Edit. Just wanted to add a few points. When my brother told me he had news too, he was really super excited and added it as a just by the way I'll announce mine too. He did apologize and admit afterwards if he had known what my news was he would have held off his, because right now what's important is my recovery. He also admitted he wrongfully assumed that my news would automatically be good. I'm usually always the happy chirpy one. His wife wasn't too fond of this either. The brother's wife also had a miscarriage beginning of the year, which is why this pregnancy I suppose was extra special. I'm truly happy for them. I just wish she could understand, like one user pointed out, that this isn't a competition. I don't know why I couldn't tell him over the phone. We are really close and I knew it would have crushed him. I couldn't steal him away at the gathering either because he was the last to arrive. And when he did, he just quickly mentioned, "Hey Opus, mind if I go first?" and I was frozen on the spot, so I said sure. Also pretty silly on my part. It's hard to explain that feeling where you are absolutely frozen and there's a big lump in your throat that prevents you from speaking. But saying the news in the first place was really difficult to begin with. Edit. Just another point to clarify, I'm not a saint, but my brother does mean a heck of a lot to me. It's exactly why his wife and I cleared the air between us before, because I wouldn't deliberately make his life hell by pissing her off. Hence why when I saw she was upset I approached her, and when she told me I could have Skyped, I responded that I wanted to tell them in person since they are my family and they would probably want to be there with me when I broke the news. I never once implied she wasn't a part of it. My brother and parents know this. Update. Sorry this is so late. A lot has been happening the past month since the news came out, and since I've received a tremendous amount of love from Reddit I thought it would be only fair to let you all know what happened. First and foremost, I've started treatment, also one of the reasons I couldn't update sooner. Thank you all for your well wishes. I plan on bouncing back as soon as I can. Anyway, I could see that my brother was under a lot of stress, and I finally sat him down to talk about it properly. He showed me a bunch of texts that his wife sent him telling him he is a shitty father for choosing me over his family. She said I was seeking attention and nobody cares about her. And one thing that really got to me was that she told him to choose once and for all, and if he picks me he loses her and his child, and if he picks her she doesn't want me in their lives at all. I felt terrible, not only for him, but knowing that I could have prevented all this. I took the time to apologize for putting him in this position, and if I had just pulled him aside soon enough and given him a heads up, he would have truly understood. Brother tells me I shouldn't apologize, because he should have been more considerate. He also mentioned that his wife would have probably still gotten mad at him whether they did or didn't give the news on that day, so I decided I should invite her over for coffee to sort out everything. I spoke to her alone. I asked her about everything. She was very cold and didn't really answer, so I started talking first by apologizing if I made her feel excluded from the family or that her pregnancy was of any less importance. I explained that I should have given them a heads up so we could have avoided what had happened altogether, and that was my fault, and that I was very sorry, but I also mentioned that the way she reacted and went to the extent of lying wasn't okay. She then started crying and vented out about how angry she's been, and that my brother always put me first and recently they've been going through a rough patch, and when he sided with me it made her even more upset and feel even more lonely. She admitted she lied to my parents and my brother, saying that she was hoping they would show her more sympathy, and when they were cold to her she got even more upset. After hours of talking she apologized for how she acted and has been acting, and she would like it if we moved on from this. My brother came later and they both went home. He texted me saying they both spoke for hours and agreed to couples therapy. My parents are currently living with me and helping me out tremendously, but they are not quite happy with my sister-in-law yet. Although they promised to try to work things out, things finally seem to calm down, and let's hope it stays that way. None of this would have been possible without the feedback you all gave me, and I'm indebted to that, so thank you. Not the idiot. You sound like a really level-headed, good and nice person. You set your own troubles aside to make her feel comfortable and hear her out. Not a lot of people would feel that way. I hope you get better soon. Not the idiot. I'm glad you could resolve this. You have more important things to worry about. I hope your treatment goes well. At least you have a new niece or nephew to look forward to. My family had a really horrible time during the pandemic, and the pregnancy of one of my friends kind of carried me through it. Every time she sent me an ultrasound picture, I got so happy and excited for her.